Panchiko just released their, I guess, debut album. I don't really know what you want to call it, Fail That Mass. And I mean, they're a really popular band from their original EP that was kind of lost forever. Or I mean, it was like lost media for like 15 years. And some of the songs on there are really good. It's kind of just like a Radiohead ripoff, Radiohead maybe tribute kind of band. It's just someone who like listened to a lot of Radiohead and made a bunch of songs like that. And I think this album is a big step in the right direction. I mean, it's been 20 years since they released that old album, but you do have kind of that same like alternative rockish sound, but you can clearly see them expanding on a lot of different influences. And I think Fail That Mass definitely is a lot better of an album than what, Deathmetal is. And while I think this is a great album, an album coming out, you haven't really released new music in 20 years, which is crazy. And you release an album that's 8 songs in 26 minutes. It's a little weird to me because there of course could be more sound output from you, and there's just more, you can put out more songs if you're going to wait 20 years for this, but I get it. All these songs are really good, and let's just go track by track and, talk about them. Fail That Mass, I love the production on this song with the main melody being really addicting and the lead singer's vocals also just sounding so addicting, kind of mixing together with that melody. The distortion on this song works well, and it sounds pretty solid as well, because sometimes distortion doesn't really work, but I feel like the song on this song works well. And this song in general is just pretty addicting with all the instruments coming together to create a pretty amazing song. Great lead single. Portraits, I love the really chopped up sounding production. They kind of chop up all these instruments, and the lead singer's vocals really suit the sound with the rhythm of his voice and the production working really well together. Love the distortion that happens throughout the track. It throws it a little bit back to the rot that happened on that original Deathmetal EP and shows kind of similar charm to those original songs. I love the complex instrumentation and kind of that atmospheric sound throughout the entire track. Until I Know, the opening riff to me is a little weird because it sounds something similar to something that would be on a generic country pop song. But the rest of the song works well to kind of suit the lead singer's vocals. I think that same riff does work okay. It just does throw me off a little bit because, it sounds exactly like what would happen in a country pop song. But it works well, and I like the slower melody that doesn't have that same riff because it suits the song so much better. The lead singer's vocals do get a little whiny during the chorus, which is a little annoying, but I think it's fine. Breakfast Seance, the chopped up production on this song is really interesting, but I feel like it just drags on a little bit. I'm not trying to just hear cool production with no vocals for the entirety of the song, unless it's something really groundbreaking or really short. This is a song that's 2 minutes, 50 seconds, and it doesn't really do that much to me. This would be an interesting song if it was a minute and 10 seconds or has a couple more than a couple screaming vocals that are just thrown in the background. Kind of similar to Great Gig in the Sky by Pink Floyd, except the vocals are just really tuned out on this one. I don't know. It's fine. It's nothing amazing, and it's definitely not a good song. It's fine. It's okay. Find It, a song. I love the production on this song. It sounds really good and gives off some futuristic 8-bit vibes. I love the distortion on the lead singer's voice as it kind of fits the sound of the song and gives everything he says a lot more character. I just love the production on this song, but it doesn't have that much substance, but I think the song is really good. It sounds really similar to Portraits and Fail That Mass, and I really like that whole style they went with at least those 3 tracks, because the rest of it, it doesn't sound as good as those 3 tracks. If they just went for a full album on that, it'd be amazing, but the rest of it is still pretty good. Gwen Everest, the song comes in with an interesting riff, and the sound of the song is a lot more generic alternative rock, which I still think does work. I don't really like how they mix in the lead singer's vocals, that he just kind of blends in during the chorus, or I feel like all the sounds kind of come together to create something that's kind of less of their sums. But the lead singer's voice does get a bit better, and he kind of brings a lot more energy, and the song steps up as that happens. And the drums and everything also step up the energy, which make the song a lot better for the last 30 to 45 seconds. Think That's Too Wise. The production is a little more generic, and I think the lead singer's vocals work well on the track, giving this song a really solid vibe that works well when the song becomes actually distorted. I love the guitar's electric sound when it gets distorted, but I don't really think the lead singer's vocals work as well when they're also distorted. I don't know. It's an interesting song, and it kind of works, but it's not amazing. Rocking with Keith, this is the last song on the album. It's a little weird that, yeah, you also have a 26-minute album, and 7 minutes of those are no vocals songs. But it's chill. I think this song is really good. I love the kind of chaotic sound of the intro, especially with the drums. The piano inclusion is a little weird switch in sound, but I feel like it fits the ambiance of the introduction with the song. I love the electric guitar and think it sounds great, and I love just all the experimentation on this song with all the new sounds, and I think it sounds so much better than Breakfast Seance, because there's seemingly kind of like a musical narrative happening throughout this song, with the main melody carrying on throughout all this distortion and all these new instruments being added. And I think this song is a pretty solid conclusion to like the whole album, because it seems like they're trying to do something different with the musical experimentation, and it kind of has like one nice song to kind of wrap up everything they did in the entire album, even if there are no vocals on that one. And I mean, it's a 5-minute track, so it kind of has a nice conclusion where it's like, of course a 5-minute track is going to end the album. But overall, I feel like I do really like the album. I mean, I think the singles kind of carry it. Of course, Fail That Mass, Portraits, are, in my opinion, the two best songs. And I think Find It is probably the next one for me. That one is just a little short, but overall, this is a really good way to, I guess, come back. I mean, I think Panchiko already had a solid fan base from just the stuff they were making, and they could have just toured off that forever. But I think the fact that they're trying to experiment and, maybe not do something that's completely different, but kind of switching the sounds to a little bit more of a distorted and like digital kind of sound. That's why I feel like it's like a digital rock kind of sound, at least on the first couple tracks, and I feel like it really works. It sounds pretty great, and I feel like especially on Portraits, that's definitely my favorite track on the entire album, and it's not really been getting the love that I've been seeing the other two singles get. But either way, I feel like Panchiko made a step in the right direction, and while I don't really think they're gonna be making a lot more actual like albums, they already have a pretty solid discography with like Deathmetal and all their demos and stuff, and they're just gonna be touring off those because they have a really solid fan base. But I think this is a step in the right direction, and just giving some new music to the people who actually support them and everything is pretty great. And I don't know, it's just good to see a band where they were kind of known as this Radiohead ripoff from the start, and they came out and they made a really solid album it still kind of sounds like Radiohead and is in that same alternative rock genre, but I feel like it sounds a lot more, digital and distorted, which I feel like really works. So I'm going to have to give Panchiko's Fail That Maths a 7 out of 10. It's a really solid album. It's something, amazingly special, and I would have wanted some more songs on it, or at least some more vocals on it, but it is still a really solid album, and I like this one. So definitely go check it out if you do like Panchiko.